one human being that existed. Now it
I'm
says the
sorry, I
meeting
just
is being
interrupted you. Just
recorded.
go
It's
ahead.
okay. Continue. Okay, continue. I click continue. So tell me, yeah, go ahead and do your thing, and then I'll join in.
Okay, so I'll just share the presentation you sent to me. I will try that. So we can see some of the pictures. Let me have a look. I'm also a bit confused now because of the technical problems before. So just give me a minute to find where I have to go. I think I have to show you my calendar now because I have to find where I am at the moment as well. But I think we all have understanding for technical issues like that. There it is. Yes. Okay, I think you should be able to see the presentation now, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I see.
So the first picture we can see here is you and your brothers, right?
That's correct.
So do you want to tell us something about them or how you experienced the time?
Yes, it's this picture was taken in London after my brothers were demobilized from the Polish army, which was in Italy at that time. They were sent to England, and so was I. The next picture is my brother Sam, and he is in his Polish army uniform. Next picture, please. There's my brother Nathan, my middle brother, and in his Polish army uniform. Next. Oh, that guy, I seem to know that guy. Okay, next, please. Yes, my family was 59 people that we agreed on, and I don't have pictures for everyone. Please, next picture. Because I didn't find any pictures, any more pictures, this is a representation of my grandmother, who was 84 at the time, and she was murdered in an unknown place. So this is some kind of image. Thank you. Next one, please. My father, and he was 49 at the time we arrived in Auschwitz in August 1944. Next, please. My mother, when she was 45 at the time, and apparently she was murdered in Auschwitz in Poland. Next one, please. My sister, who was 1 year older than I, and again, she was murdered with my mother in Auschwitz. Next one, please. My uncle, his wife, and daughter. They had 2 children, and I don't know where they were murdered, but they were murdered. Next one, please. Again, an image of people in family murdered in an unknown place. Next, please. My Uncle Meyer, who is a long story because when I escaped from the Plaszow camp, I ended up in the sub-camp, which was called Julag, and he saved my life. It's a long story, but I will tell it when the time comes up. And his wife and my aunt Itka, yeah, Again, murdered in unknown place. Next one, please. Again, uncle. Yeah, you can just go through the ones that are shadows of people rather than actual photograph. So please, if it's just a shadow, just an image that people existed whose picture I do not have. Okay. Thank you for showing the pictures. Now, I'm happy that people will be able to see, or they saw pictures of people that ceased to exist. And the 6 million is an abstraction that I even don't understand, but I wanted you to see at least a picture of my family. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing the pictures with us, and also the names of the ones you don't have pictures of. In the beginning, I will just start with some questions, but you're always welcome to write your questions in the chat as well, and then we will just mix some questions.
Great,
Bernard.
thank you.
Bernard, when we started to write each other emails, I saw, or it was very special to me that you sign every email with love, light, and courage. Maybe you can explain to us what these words mean to you and why you always put them into your emails.
I think that without us as humanity moving in the direction of love for everyone, and in our life on this planet, we are on a great big ball, and for the most part, we are all in a survival mode because of the economics and belief systems. For instance, talking about belief system, let me just say about for computer users and computer programmers, I am a user, a poor one, but I'm a user, not a programmer. There is an acronym that means an abbreviation of a long, several names, and that is GIGO, G-I-G-O. And what it stands for is when the programmers that are bad, they write a program, it comes out very badly, it's not functional. So it's garbage into the computer, garbage out. It is also true, what we believe is what we create in this world. So we need to check what it is we believe in. So just go ahead, please.
Today I watched the episodes of your film you made. I will also post the link later in the chat, so you can all watch it if you like. And I was really impressed that it said that you were walking over 5,000 people in the last years through Auschwitz, telling your story, talking to them. Why did you do that? Like, why did you go back that many times?
Well, I went back so many times because people wanted to walk with me. They wanted to walk with someone who lived through, survived that camp. And I wanted to share my story, as I still do, because what transpired is unbelievable to many people. Sometimes in my dreams, especially, also, it is unbelievable through what I lived through and through many people went through and did not survive, and a few of us who did survive. By the way, the love, light, and courage, it comes from the love of humanity, which I see is the larger goal of sharing my story, because I do not want anything like that to reoccur. It is reoccurring in many different forms. Today, we as humanity should be ashamed for what is going on right now. Another war. It is stupid, absolutely stupid. We live in a dysfunctional world and societies, many nations, most nations, I would say, but not all maybe. So we need to reassess who we are as human beings, and that is to create love for everyone. You don't have to like it, but need to at least accept and transform ourselves to love everyone. And we need courage to do that. We need to take risks, which we, in many ways, are afraid to take in our societies because we're steered in certain directions of business and beliefs and economics and all that. But we need to re-examine how we contribute to what is going on. So that's the love, light, and courage piece.
Yeah.
Please go on.
Okay. Should we go back a little bit to your childhood and then come back to the world nowadays? So maybe you could start a little bit from the beginning and give us more insight in how you grew up and how things went on when you were around 12 years old.
Yes. So I was born in Krakow, Poland, and I am now 94, pushing 95. And I came from a family of 6 people, parents, older brothers who have passed away since, and my sister who was 1 year older. Her name was Miriam or Mary. And I was the youngest, and I felt very much loved by my parents and my family, and that helped me in survival. We were working class people in Krakow, and in actuality, the ghetto started in 1941 in the building in which I was born. So we didn't have to move. The ghetto was started, right, included in the ghetto. But later on, the ghetto was cut in half because people were being deported and disappearing. And the ghetto was made smaller. I worked in several different places during the time of the ghetto. We were under escort to do snow cleaning and cleaning things on streets and other work. I was a very active young kid. On the first day that the German army entered Krakow, I ran out of the building to the corner, and a German soldier jumped off a truck and took a shot at me. The bullet hit near my head, and I escaped. Perhaps he didn't want to kill me, he just wanted to frighten me. That's my belief now. To cut short the time, in the ghetto, there was starvation. My brothers were taken out of the ghetto several times, and they reappeared. We didn't know what happened to them several times, but they reappeared. Other people who were taken out of the ghetto later on, in the beginning, we were being guarded by soldiers. Okay, later on, they stopped being guarded by soldiers, and we had to go out on our own. But they had the names of the whole families, everyone who went out to work. If anyone were to escape, they would shoot the rest of the families. So it's like we had to watch ourselves and say, why? You want to escape? You know what's going to happen? So that was the kind of terror that was used. Okay, so now I need to, because of the limited time, I need to move to, the ghetto was ended in 1943, and I and my family were transferred to a camp called Plaszow, which is only 2 kilometers away from the ghetto. And within several days, was maybe a whole week, I had to report to the central square in the Plaszow camp, and so did all the other kids. If you didn't report and they found you, they shot you automatically. So I reported and believed that maybe that is a better outcome. In the end, they loaded the young kids, including me, onto horse-drawn wagons, and we were taken out of the Plaszow camp and along the streets called Wieliczka. I overheard the guards, which were Ukrainians, Latvians, and that we are going to be shot someplace. So I and other kids jumped. We jumped, and I heard shooting. I kept running. I hid myself, and here I am to tell the story, at least part of the story. And I did not know what to do. I was just 13, and I hid in a Polish Catholic cemetery, and I made contact with my uncle. You saw a picture of him and his wife, Itka, and he was working on the site that they were destroying buildings just for the material, because there was going to be a new road and a new bridge built. And he said, after my escape, he said, oh, I need to back up, because I hid in the old destroyed house, which my uncle, I knew from the ghetto time that my uncle was working on this site. And so I hid myself there. And when they came in the morning, I made contact. I was hidden in a hole. I pulled some boards over myself. And when I saw prisoners, I started to speak to them in Yiddish, and told them who I was, and they eventually brought my uncle, and he talked with me while I was hidden in this hole. And he said, I don't know how I can help you, but you can come back with me to my camp, which was called Julag, Judenslager, camp of Jews. And there were 3 different camps called Julag. And I said, no, thank you. I'm going to go and try and get some help. I knew of my brother's friend, whose name, my brother's friend, Catholic, whose name was Czechlik, Władysław Czechlik. And I like to say the name because there were so few people that were risking their life, and they took me in and fed me, gave me some food, but I had to leave because they were in danger of being shot if a Jew was found in their presence. So I actually came back to the very same place, the cemetery, and hid in the hole and made contact again with my uncle. And he said, well, you can come back with me. I'll arrange that. They are not shooting many people. That was my best offer. You understand? Not go into a camp. So I did. And when it came time for them to quit, I came out of the hole. They put me in the center of the men that were marching, and we were marching 5 abreast, and they put me in the center. They said, when we get close to the camp gate, we're going to lift you up by the arms, and so your feet is not showing, so your feet are up. Because I figured out that after long time, the guards did not like to see the suffering faces of returning prisoners, and they were counting feet. And my uncle told me this. To go up to the rafters of the barrack for about 3-4 days when they went to work. The camp emptied out and people went to work. While I was up there in the rafters, I saw guards shooting people under the window. No, some people, young people especially, say, well, why didn't you say something? Yeah, say something and get shot. So after a few days, I came down. I also caught typhus. And I don't know how, but my uncle Meyer got some medicine for me, and I got better. Then I got to work again. I went out as a prisoner who was working, and I was working in a pigsty, and the Germans, the SS, who were guards from the kitchen, what was left over in the kitchen was given to the pigs. And I ate some of the stuff. I brought some of the stuff back to the camp and shared it with my uncle and others. Anyways, that camp was closed down and we were transferred back to the Plaszow camp from which I escaped. I reunited with my father, and I slept in the same barracks. I started working with my father. He was a shoemaker by trade, and building boots for the German army. So I assisted him. And one day, a German officer came back and he tested some of these boots that we produced. We each produced one pair of boots every 1 or 2 days. I forgot already. And he tested it by grabbing the boot by the heel and the lower part of the sole on his knee, and the heel broke. It broke off, didn't fall away, but it broke because we were sabotaging the boots. Every pair where the heel was built there's a whole process of building a boot, a shoe. Behind where the heel was to be was a deep cut, which was not visible on the boot. And when the shoe broke, he said, "Who built this pair of boots?" So it was written down who it was. He took the man outside and shot him. And that was our lesson to stop sabotaging. We never stopped sabotaging the boots. Instead of two, we sabotaged only one boot. So we improved our chances of surviving. That was our anger and our sabotage to bring the war. I was transferred, well, as I said, to the Plaszow camp, or reunited with my father, and this occurred. That camp, Plaszow camp was being closed down. We were put on a train, didn't know where it was going. It was a journey of 2 nights in 3 days, or 2 days and 3 nights. I don't remember exactly. And we ended up in Mauthausen in Austria. And that's approximately 300 kilometers away from Krakow. Would you please inform me about how much time I have, because I want to tell the story.
Yes.
You know,
no, as we said before, just feel free to tell us what needed to be said, and I don't want to give you a time limit now, so just go ahead.
Okay. So the train ended up in Mauthausen, Austria. So after the war, I found out, my brothers found out, that the trains, which the German military said, we need trains, we need transport to support the war, and but that was not true as far as murdering, especially Jews. So we were on this train to Mauthausen, remained there less than a week. I was separated from my brothers. My father and I were put on a train back to Poland, to Auschwitz-Birkenau. And again, a journey of 2 days, 3 nights, and we ended up in Auschwitz. In the train, if you have ever been to a pigsty, that was already sweet to what existed in their train. People relieving themselves, we were relieving ourselves in our pants. On the way back, before we got to Auschwitz, train was stopped several times. And on one day, the train door was opened up, and they said for someone to come out with a bucket. And so I was picked. I was picked because I was a little stronger than many others. How and why? My father, Jacob, was leaning against the wooden side of the cattle car, and I was at the bottom of his feet, and he was shielding me from the crush of bodies and other people. That's the way he saved my life. So I was picked to go and took the bucket. And we were being rushed, and there were SS all around. And there was a big railway water faucet that people were filling up their buckets and going back to the train. And when it was my turn, there was an SS man standing in front of the water faucet, and somehow I looked at him in the eyes, and he turned around and allowed me to wash the bucket to which we were all shit. It was overflowing. That was one moment when I had contact with a German. And then I went back to the kettle car and continued on to Auschwitz. In Auschwitz, when we arrived, I did not know where we were. I only smelled the burning of human flesh, which I experienced in the Plaszow camp. So I knew it was not good where we were. In the morning, the train's doors were opened up, and we were rushed out by prisoners who jumped into the train and kicked everybody out. My father and I were kicked out of the train. And if you can imagine what we looked like after such journey, you well, your imagination might actually create such an image, such a horrid image of human beings and how we were treated. After a while, we were forced to line up in Auschwitz-Birkenau at the ramp and go forward. Turned out to be a selection process. In the end, my father went to the left of me facing forward to the selection. Supposedly it was a doctor. And I went to the right. But there was a moment in which, after I went to the right, I turned and watched my father going to a group of people on the left. And I did not know which was better. I knew it was the end. It was be the end. For me, for both of us, didn't know. And my father went to the left. He ended up in a gas chamber. I went to the right. I got to, with a group of people, to be tattooed and showered. And the following day, sent to the quarantine camp, which, according to history of that camp, the quarantine camp, I was there a long time. Most people went there for a short time. And a capo saved my life, who told me to grab a broom and keep sweeping every day, all the time. And I did not go out to work. So thereby he saved my life. After 3 months there, I was told that there's going to be a transport and I'm going to be on it. But backing up of the transport, I want to say there were selection processes. We had to get up in the morning very early and line up in front of the barracks. And people who died overnight, we had to drag them out and lay them out so they could be counted. And the count never was correct. Even if it was correct, it was not correct. Just to torture us. And it was not on for hours and hours, and people dropped dead just from exhaustion. One day, the capo told me there's going to be an inspection. And he said, here is what you should do, Bernard. I don't think he even knew my name. He said, when it's your turn to go up in front of the SS men, go up there, take off your hat, go up there, run up there. Don't just walk. Run up there and don't look him in the eyes. Look at his boots. So I did that. And they sent me to, in that page, it was to the right again. It turned out that I found out much later who was the SS man. It turned out to be Mengele, Dr. Mengele, the one who selected twins to be tortured.
We can't hear you at the moment, Bernard. I think your connection is gone right now. So let's just wait a little bit until you're back. Okay. I think he will be back in a minute. We practiced a little bit before and had the same problem. So I think we can go on soon. It's interesting to see some of you as well in the little pictures, because in the other room I didn't see anyone. So hello. You say that he's here. Yeah, I can see you. Okay, 1 second. I need to pin you, and now, yes, there you are. Perfect. So the last thing we heard was that it was Mengele. So maybe you can go on from that.
Okay. So people said, oh, so you saw Mengele? I said, no, I never saw him. I only saw his boots. The next thing is that the capo told me that there's going to be a transport leaving from Birkenau, and transport of trucks. So one day, trucks came, and I was put on it, and so were many others. And from what I could see, because the trucks were covered, you could only see out the back a little bit. So I saw about 4 trucks behind me. And we were sitting on the floor with legs parted, and the next prisoner was between our legs, and the next one between the legs of someone else. And so we sat for a day and a half in that position, and the trucks were moving. We ended up in Dachau. So from Dachau, which was in the Landsberg area, we were sent to a camp near Landsberg. And the barracks were simply in the shape of a roof like that. And we were sleeping on the bottom half of there was a ditch in the barracks, and that was our resting place. Luckily, I was put on a work detail, and the German man, he was a blacksmith. He brought some food for me every day, a little bit of food, and he did not mistreat me. And this saved my life. And I was a little stronger than other prisoners because of that little food that, and the work. My work was driving a train, a narrow gauge train with cars, building material that were kind of tipped over, and the rocks and whatever material. So I was driving the train back and forth, and we were on the building site, which was we were building hangars for aircraft. But I didn't know it then. I only knew that after the war. Prisoners, other prisoners who were working on the construction on the building, actually, rather than bringing train back and forth, fell into the concrete, and they never stopped pouring the concrete. They were hangars, they were around massive, massive buildings, and they never stopped pouring the concrete. And so people are buried within those hangar concrete to this day. No one really talks about that. Anyways, that I was in that camp, and one day we were put on the march, a death march. And why was it called a death march? Because people who fell, who were walking and could not keep up, and they fell to the rear, got shot. So if you did not keep up, you were shot at the end. One day we were attacked by planes, fighter planes. Turned out to be American planes. Some people were killed, and they realized very quickly that we were not military people. We were just human beings and marching on the road. We were put into barracks, and sometimes into just the field overnight. And we marched for about 5 days in the direction around Munich area. I think eventually we were put into a camp in which when I woke up in the morning, there were many, many prisoners, looked out the windows and didn't see any guards around. And some people told me, Bernard, you're one of the stronger kids. Please go and get some help. So I was picked, and they said, go back in the direction from which we came, because we don't know what's ahead. We know what is behind us. So I went in that direction. I saw destroyed trucks, army trucks, and other equipment, and I heard shooting. I had to cross a river. I got into a building, a farm building that was partly destroyed. And I looked out the window and I heard bombs, artillery, and I kept looking. All of a sudden I saw tanks. I heard tanks. What I thought I actually didn't know they were tanks, just machines. Turned out to be tanks. And I saw a star, and I didn't know whether that was Russian or American. Turned out to be American. And I saw soldiers. I came out the building, raised up my hands and started shouting in Polish and in German, which was Yiddish. And so they noticed me and I kept going forward.
It's 8 o'clock.
Some soldiers took me to a company commander. I told them who I am. They gave me some food. And they sent 2 GI soldiers with packs of food. You'll have to excuse me for a moment. I need to leave.
No problem. We'll wait. So I'll just share the website, his website. So you can save that for later on and also have a look at his film if you like, or if you don't know it yet, maybe. It's very impressive, and it's a story that he just told us, but with more pictures and also his brothers talking. So it's very worth to have a look there. We can just maybe have a look until he comes back.
I am back.
Just share the link of your website with everyone while you were gone, so no problem.
Yeah, at 84, pushing 85, you know, sometimes you need to do some important things. So
yes.
I did.
So you were just telling
I'm
us
trying
about
to
the GIs
remember
with
where I was in the
packs.
story.
Yeah, you met the GIs and they had food for you and also the others, I guess. The American tanks.
Yeah. Yeah, the American tanks. And they sent 2 soldiers with me. We had to cross the river again in a different place because the bridge was blown up. The war just ended a couple of days ago and everything was destroyed. Not everything, but much was destroyed. And they came in with me to the barracks I was in, and they started distributing their food. The soldiers had a good heart and they wanted to help everyone. Unfortunately, the food that they were sharing was military rations, high fat, high calories for combat for soldiers. And many people got sick from that. Some died. That was, I went with my liberators to a place which is called Mauthausen, and they were stationed in some military barracks. And that's the last I saw of the other prisoners. I became a mascot for a tank unit. And they helped me to heal. They let me play with them. They let me play with their guns. They were my friends. They saved my life in many ways. They gave me food and clothing and all of that. One day, a American soldier tells me, well, he didn't so much tell me as he said, come with me. I didn't speak English, but motions I understood. So he says, sit down behind me on my motorcycle. So I sit down behind him on the motorcycle, and he goes down countryside roads, in and out. And all of a sudden he stops, and we get off. I follow him, and he goes near a river. And all of a sudden he tells me again, he didn't tell me, he motions to me. Bernard, get down, lay down. I got frightened. I didn't know what was happening, but the man's got guns, and I lay down and I watch him. He takes out 2 hand grenades, pulls out the pin, throws them into the river, boom, boom. And he takes off his helmet and he goes there, he starts picking up dead fish. I call it American fishing. So I got back with that man and the fish. It was a short time afterwards that I started to realize, did anyone in my family survive this? Is there anyone alive? So I didn't know, but they told me that in Munich itself, there were refugee prisoners who were prisoners, and I could go there and find out. So they gave me a ride to Munich, and I went to a refugee camp, and they assigned me a place to sleep, and it was a bunks all over in some barracks. And I go in there and sit down on my bunk, and I see next bunk, there's a man that is reading a book. And I ask, what is the book about? He says, oh, this is about prisoners, former prisoners who survived. I pulled the book out of his hands, and I started looking up my last name, Offen. And I find my brothers, they are alive. But Bernard's name did not appear there. I was not in a place where UNRWA, it was called UNRWA at that time, took my name or anything like that. I didn't exist. And I said, so my brothers are alive. Where are they? I said, oh, yes, they are in, they went to Italy. And I said, how can I get there? He says, well, if there were no passenger trains, there were no buses, there were some trains with goods, coal and other goods, because this was just a few days after the war, we're running. He says, if you get on the top of this train, coal train, sit there, it will take you right to where your brothers went. And he took me to the train station in Munich, and to a place where the trains were. I sat on top of the coal train, 30 as all hell, and kept riding the train. When the train slowed down or stopped and I saw people, I asked, is das Salzburg? 999. No, no, no. I kept sitting on there and kept writing. And I kept asking the same question. And in the end, someone said, yeah, das ist Salzburg. I jumped down from the train. I go in the direction I was told existed a camp for the refugees. And I get to the camp and go to the office. My brother's here. He says, oh, yeah, brothers. Yes, they were here, but they're no longer here. And where are they? They went to Italy. And how do I get there? Well, you cannot get there because there you have no papers that you are a human being, that you exist. So they made some documents for me, which I have copies of. And finally, I was put on a truck convoy with Italian refugees who were slave laborers being repatriated over the Alps. The convoy went over the Alps. Beautiful, beautiful. We ended up in Italy, in a place called Ancona. So I knew where the camp, the refugee camp was. So I kept asking, found my way there. I get to the office. My brother's here. Oh, yes, your brothers. They were here, but they're no longer here. It is still lodged in me, the pursuit to find family. You see, they did not know I survived. They were not looking. And I asked, well, where did they go? Well, they joined the Polish army because they're Polish citizens. And where did they go? Well, they were sent to this hospital, this army hospital. So I hitchhiked, I walked, American trucks, British trucks, Polish trucks. There was nothing that kept stopping me from going on. There were no difficulties. And I get to the hospital, I ask at the office, are my brothers here? Oh, yes, your brothers. They were here. However, they're not here any longer. And where did they go? Well, they said, well, they're soldiers and they were sent to a training camp for military people. So I make my way and get to the camp, and I asked at the office, the company commander, are my brothers here? He said, yes, your brothers are here. However, they're not here. Why are they not here? They are on leave. It was some kind of a Jewish holiday and they got a pass to go to a town named Bari. And I asked, how do I get there? Oh, yeah, we can give you a ride on a truck, on a police truck. And I get there, and I get to the soldiers' recreation building office, and I ask, are my brothers here? Oh, yes, they're here. And where are they? Well, they're out there someplace walking near the ocean, and they're here. So I start walking. I see young Polish people in uniforms. And I ask, have you seen my brothers? Oh, yeah, they were. I saw them walking, and keep walking and you'll find them. So I keep walking and I see the image of two young men in British Army summer uniform shorts, and I walk up to them. They look like my brothers. We recognize each other. You see, I was the bearer of the news that father got murdered in Auschwitz. When he went one way and I went the other way. And there were the bearers of the news that mother and my sister were sent to Belgium. And we don't know what happened to them till some years later, where that transport from the Krakow Ghetto went. That was, and I got reunited with my brothers. I slept in the barracks. They had their rifles. I slept between their bunks on the cot, and then in the end, the company commander said, "You cannot stay here any longer." They let me stay for almost 2 weeks, something like that. My brothers found a place for refugees near a town called Santa Maria de Bani in Italy, near the ocean. And so I went there, and I went visiting with my brothers who were soldiers, and it's a long story, but my healing process started when I got to that town, and it's a long story. There was a beach, there were other young people like me, and I was by the ocean. I went with local fishermen out on the ocean, and then the mind started healing, and I kept remembering what transpired. No, and so this is how I found my brothers. The Polish army was under the control of the British, and they were being demobilized. They were being sent to England. And I, as a dependent, because I was too young to join, was sent ahead of time of Sam and Nathan. And then we found some cousins there, and they helped us to find jobs. And I went to school. And after about almost 5 years in London, and I found the nice family to live with, and that's another long story, which I won't get into right now. We immigrated to the United States. Within a year, a little over a year, in the United States, I was drafted in the army, and I was sent to Korea. So I went to my company commander and I said, "I'm not even a citizen. What am I doing here?" He says, "Don't worry. You are going to be made a citizen with a group of others." So on my naturalization papers, which is made in Korea, I'm wondering if I'm also a Korean citizen. But after 17 months and some days, I was made a citizen and returned to Detroit, Michigan. I have 2 sons in Detroit, Michigan, one of whom has taken on the trauma of a survivor and needs state assistance to be functioning. So that's my trauma about my family. I have been coming back to Poland since 1981 and walking people who wanted to walk with me and hear the story of a survivor, and there are many, 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 many more details which I could tell. They wanted to walk with me because I have what I call a process of healing, which I call self. Give me a moment. I've walked over 5,000 people, closer to 6,000 over the years since 1981. The process is called self-confrontation in the process of healing, which is, what is it? What is my trauma? What is your trauma that you have not dealt with? Maybe it was a broken finger. Maybe it was something with your family and you have not discussed it and it's running your life. What is it you believe in? This is where I started to realize that if we don't love each other, we are perpetuating what happened. Unless we move to a way of loving each other and welcoming the difference, the rainbow of humanity. By the way, the film, which is Love, Light, and Courage, there's also a video, a film besides the one that you're told about, which includes my brothers who are no longer with me. But I keep on telling the story that for people to wake up, who are we as human beings? What do we believe in? How do we function? What are we allowed to think and express? We're in survival societies all over the world. And we're stupid to let our politicians run our lives that way. So who are we as human beings? That's my question. I believe we're God created human beings, and we have much more power to say no to something that's stupid, to be hating other people for no reason other than their belief system. It's mass insanity. And how we survive in this system. How much time have I got? Because there are other things that can you tell me how much time I have?
As I said, we don't want to just cut off. So I guess we still have like 15 minutes, 20 minutes also to ask questions from the audience. So we're very happy to listen to you. So can I ask you something about what you just said before? What would be your most important message to the younger generation today? Like, what do you want them to hear and to learn and understand?
In your relationship, especially in your love relationship, don't take prisoners and don't be a prisoner because of your past, because of your unconsciousness, how you treat another human being. Because that is what we do in many ways, and we call it love. So, who are we as human beings? And how can we hate others? It's insane. It's insane. This anti-Semitism is a disease. Look, if you take away the Semitism and you put in anti-American, anti-German, anti-British, what you have is anti-life. Anti-life. In this case, it's anti-Semitism, but it's anti-life.
What also,
Questions,
yeah,
please.
I will just ask one more and then I'll go to the ones in the chat. I have so many questions. I'm sorry. I also saw that there were, or heard that there were many people, you called them angels, who helped you during the time in the camp.
Yes,
So
yes,
did that also help you to keep on believing in something good as well, that human beings also have inside themselves? Because of course, the evil was very big during that time for your
yes.
personal experience.
Still exists. Still exists, the evil. It still exists. Yeah, the angels. These are the people who helped me, who put me in the middle of the prisoners, who gave me a piece of food or piece of clothing, or told me to go to the right or to the left. These were angels. I don't remember their names, but sometimes I do remember their faces. It's been a long time. And there are angels all over the planet. There are angels all over the planet that have helped me to get to this place. And I keep downloading. Young people will say about hard disk, computer users, hard disk, soft disk. Well, I'm the hard disk and I've got the sharing my story. I'm unloading. I'm healing myself by telling my truth. If we start with one lie to somebody, it starts to build, and soon we don't know what we said, and we have to defend ourselves because of the lies that we have said. And then it spreads, and we're not ourselves. Please, maybe some people want to have a question. Yes. Besides you.
Yes, I'm just reading the question from Ekaterina. It's Katja from Helsinki, Finland, and I'm currently reading a book about Jewish women living in ghettos in various Polish cities who became resistance fighters. To my understanding, there were several youth resistance organizations. So my question is, have you ever heard about these youth groups or their activities while living in a ghetto or afterwards?
The answer is yes. I knew when in the ghetto that there were resistance fighters and in the forest and actually in the ghetto. But my brother had a friend who was a resistance fighter in the Krakow Ghetto. And as a matter of fact, they carried out an action against the Germans in Krakow and killed several Germans by throwing in hand grenades. And they escaped into the ghetto, and they were pretty soon found where they were hiding and they were shot down. But there was a resistance. Yes, it was women who were less identifiable as a male. You know, me as a male, the Germans made us drop our pants, and if we were circumcised, they knew we were Jewish. But women had the advantage. So yes, there were many heroic Jewish women besides the men.
Thank you. The next
And
question.
they were,
oh, sorry.
and they were in many ways treated worse than men, used in many different ways. They were abused, besides starvation, besides horrendous. Thank you for asking the question.
Okay, the next one is from Gary about Mauthausen. How did you perceive the Funktionshäftlinge who were working there?
How did I say again?
The Funktionshäftlinge.
Please say again.
Yeah.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Please repeat the question.
Okay. So it's about Mauthausen, the camp Mauthausen. How did you perceive the Funktionshäftlinge who were working there?
Bad connection.
Ah, okay. I'm sorry about that. Can you hear me
It's
now?
okay. It's not your fault. It's internet. It's that's the way it is.
Okay. So did you hear that the question is about Mauthausen?
No.
Okay.
I didn't hear.
It's the Mauthausen camp. And Gary wants to know how you perceive the Funktionshäftlinge who worked there.
The prisoners, yes. How did I perceive? I hardly had any contact with, they were mostly men. I was in the camp with men only, and who were sent there from Plaszow, from other camps in Mauthausen. That's all I had contact with, was with them. So I don't know much about them, other than some prisoners. They were terrible. They worked with the SS.
Yeah, I think that's
yes,
what
that happened too. But I did not. Yeah, I did not know any. Didn't meet any. Yes. Next question.
Yeah. Then the next one is: did you lose your faith on God in Auschwitz?
Yes, the answer is yes, because I have a drawing that a friend of mine made of me on the electrified fence in Auschwitz as a bird flying out of Auschwitz, because she created this out of my telling her the story that my soul was out of the camp. However, my body was in Auschwitz, and I was playing with my friends, with the family, and so forth. So she created this image of a electrified fence and a bird on it flying out of there. I have to this day, yes.
Okay. Then Christoph is writing, hello, I'm from Krakow, and my question is, have you ever met prisoners with pink triangle in Plaszow camp or other places where you have been? Have you met people that have been in prison supposed of homosexuality?
In Auschwitz, yes. In Auschwitz, yes. And that was the capo in Auschwitz who saved my life. Yes.
Okay. Then the next one is asking that he or she, I can't see the name right now, never heard that Polish Jewish refugees joined the Polish army after the war, as your brothers did. Can you explain more about this? Like how that happened?
Well, yeah. Well, there were actually Jewish soldiers before the war. And it did not make, if you were a Polish citizen, you could join, especially after the war. Yeah, there were Polish, Jewish soldiers before the war also.
Okay. Then there's again a question about the Mauthausen camp. If you met any Catalan men there from Catalonia, the Spanish region, I think is mentioned there.
Not that I recall, no.
Okay. And after your liberation, have you ever thought about settling in Poland again?
Actually, no. I did not want to even come back to Poland. I was afraid of the communist regime and how they were treating Jews. So the answer was no.
But isn't it true that you're also in Poland quite often nowadays?
Yes, yes. I have I gave myself a mission to bear testimony, which is what I'm doing. That reminds me that when I said about my body being in Auschwitz, about one of my things was my hope of surviving. And I argued with God, if you let me out and let me survive, I will create film and I will tell people. Well, guess what? What you are helping me to do today. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it okay to ask 2 more questions for you?
Of course.
Okay. Is there, Mariah's asking, is there such a thing as forgiveness after something like this? Or do you just find any way you can to move on?
Yes, there is such a thing. And it's important. It was important for me to forgive the Germans. It was important for me. I realized this a long, long time ago. Many of the Germans who tortured and loved Hitler and all that, they still, if they're still around, they still believe it, that what they did was right for them. For me, it's about, if I don't forgive, I am carrying in my body, my heart, my mind, what did you do all the time? Instead, I forgave a long time ago. I decided to do that. It'll be good for me in healing. And now a little incident about forgiveness. I am in Germany with because I made about 7, 8 films, short films. And I was working with this film producer, and it was a day off, and I went walking in the city. I walk and walk. All of a sudden, I see an old man walking in the opposite direction. And this man has already passed me, and I catch myself in my mind. I'm still thinking about the man that went past me. And the question was, where the hell were you and what were you doing during the war? That was in my mind and in my heart. And I say to myself, I sometimes talk to myself also, I said, Bernard, what are you thinking? This man might be totally innocent. Are you still thinking about it? He's already gone. You're still carrying it. Where's your forgiveness? And that still comes up once in a while. So it's forgiveness, and something will kick it up for me, a word or scene or something. And it's a process.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that we could find this time together and that you shared your story with us and your personality and how you lived on after all what happened. And yes, I'm very, very grateful that you were here with us today. And thank you for all of you joining us and the questions. And please watch Bernard's films. And yes, I think for tonight we will just finish, and I hope to see you soon again with our next live events. Have a good evening or day wherever you are, and thank you.
Yes, I'm in Krakow, Poland. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for all the people who joined in this process of healing for me, hopefully for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. It's leave. I guess I got to click on leave. Leaving meeting. Yes.